Okay, today is June 16th, 2020. I'm Barry Benjamin. I would like to call to order the meeting of the St. Augustine Port, Waterway, and Beach District. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Benjamin?
Present.
Commissioner Rivers?
Here.
Commissioner Way?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Flowers?
Here. Okay. Adoption and approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public comments. This is the portion that anybody in the public can come up and talk for 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Ed Slavin, box 3084.
Hang on just a minute, Ed. Let's see.
Okay. Is this microphone clean?
I'm looking for the timer.
Isn't it right in front of you?
No.
Over here.
You know how to set it, Chris?
No, I'll see if I just push this button.
Okay, 5 minutes, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Go.
Go.
Well, can I see it on here?
Do you know how to do this, Elise? I don't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all.
It's going down. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have saw it.
Ed Slavin, box 3084, edslavin.com. Mr. Chairman, last year I raised some concerns about your residency status. On May the 27th of this year, you filed paperwork with the Supervisor of Elections of St. Johns County and swore under oath that you lived at 65 Lewis Boulevard, which is a marina. On June the 6th of this year, you sent an email to the Supervisor of Elections and said you were withdrawing your candidacy for this board because you had temporarily moved out of the district. Now, the Supervisor of Elections office asked you to come in and sign that, and you never signed it. Why?
I sent them, first of all, I have to explain to you, okay? It was signed.
I just spoke to the Supervisor of Elections office. They said they never got a
I'm
signed
sorry,
copy.
Ed, I'm not going to argue with you. I said it was signed.
Okay.
That's
No,
it.
she told me it was not signed either.
It was signed because I sent them a email on it. I didn't have to go in person and do it.
They said you needed to sign it.
Not true.
Did you?
I just spoke to her 5 minutes ago.
And I spoke to
We're not in
Erica.
a court, Sandy, okay? And
I'm
I
just
told you I
responding
signed
to
it.
someone who asked me the question.
Well,
I
if
just
If you're going to
did
make a
right
It's
now.
signed,
statement,
Ed.
if you're going to make a
It's
statement of the Supervisor of Elections like that, saying you moved out of the district, that should be signed and under
Right.
oath, just like the false statement that you signed on May the 27th when you said that you lived at 65 Lewis Boulevard.
I beg
So
to
what I'm
differ.
driving at,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, is that you have been serving illegally in the capacity of a member of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District for years, since at least 2016. You were elected illegally under false pretenses in 2016. You were fixing to do it again and you got caught. Now you need to resign. You need to resign right now and let one of these fine people take over as chairman. Otherwise, I think you're in very serious contempt of criminal law. You live in Jacksonville with your wife and your mother. I'd filed with you, and I gave you an opportunity to respond, and the Supervisor of Elections did nothing. 120-paragraph detailed legal and factual analysis of the fact that you live in Jacksonville, sir, and that boat is not your residence. It is not a bona fide residence. And the Florida Secretary of State has made it very clear that commercial property is not a residence address for purpose of voter registration. So you're voting illegally in St. Johns County, you're serving illegally on this board, you're illegally making decisions to spend money without even a vote by the other board members here. We'll get to that in a little while. But I think you need to resign. And the great work of this board since 1937 has been interrupted by a period of lawbreaking, just like Donald John Trump in the White House. This interregnum period here right now, when you've been serving illegally for at least the last 4 years, has besmirched the reputation of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District. It has kept y'all from doing the important work that y'all need to be doing, which is not sponsoring yacht races or boat races, but actually doing things for the people who use the port. When was the last time that y'all worked on any new boat ramps? When was the last time y'all did anything for the people of St. Augustine and St. Johns County who are part of this district? You don't even live in the district, Mr. Chairman. This is a disgrace. This board needs to talk about serious matters involving the future of our county and our state and this district, including ocean level rise, which you still haven't addressed. And I gave you the contact information last year for the PhD from the University of Florida, who's an expert, and also Dr. Shirley, and I asked that you have them both make presentations about the Summer Haven River project to actually base decisions here on this board on good science. You never did it. How do you justify your existence? You're not a resident. You do not live within the district boundaries, and you now admit that by June 6th letter, which you haven't signed, where you say you temporarily moved out of the district. You've been out of the district for years. And when you lived in the one place you lived here in St. Johns County, you were outside the district boundaries. By the way, where's our lawyer today? Where is Mr. Bedsole?
Bedsole, and he had a medical emergency.
He did, okay. Is there anything in your contract that provides for a substitute attorney if he can't make your meeting? Because it seems like this is a pretty important meeting. I've just raised an issue that he could be giving you advice on a quo warranto action where the other board members could sue you to remove you. Can he be conferenced in possibly by Zoom?
He's in a medical,
Okay, okay. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that, is that okay?
When it comes time to commissioner comments, you can respond. Yes. We're still in public
You're
comment.
telling me I can't respond to what he just said? It's a yes or no. If you're sure you're right,
No.
I will hold it.
No. We're in public comment. Anybody else from the public? No?
I got a comment.
Sure, come on up.
I got a comment to that. My name is Marco Clovanis. I'm a disabled vet, and I saw some things that I heard some things rather that kind of made me a little bit unsettled. This whole thing with sea level rise and saying that, our president's a crook, I totally resent that because he's done more for this country than any other president. So I definitely think that should be quoted. The other thing I gotta say, this whole sea level rising and this whole ocean level rising, there's not one contract in an insurance policy that has a clause in it that they will all insure new buyers on the ocean. Doesn't matter. So if there was sea level rising, or if there was a threat of sea level rising, they would put a clause in there and they wouldn't insure people, period. And Barack Obama wouldn't have bought a house right on Martha's Vineyard in the ocean, okay? So this whole sea level rise, let's just get this out. That's a waste of money, in my opinion, okay? Based on science. Sea level rise is based on science, right? Please tell me what science tells us that the oceans are going to be gone in the next 10 years. They've been saying this for 20 years. Okay, I don't think any money should go into the sea level rising. I think that's a waste of money. I also think that, what the gentleman said before about the president just is something that shouldn't be said. That could be kept out of comment. St. Augustine, I don't know. I'm back here from after being
We have no
gone.
timer running right now.
I'm sorry.
After being gone for quite some time. I've been a resident of St. Augustine for a while, and now I'm back. So this is my first time at this meeting, and I just wanted to get up and make that comment because that made me a little bit unsettling. That's all I got. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else from the public? Okay. Government representatives.
Brush my cheese. My thing right there. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Jim Pickett, City of St. Augustine. Just really quick, for the budget purposes, just want to remind you, because I failed to mention it last time, I mentioned it to Elise, that we again this year want to apply for our grant to dredge salt run like we had the last 12 years. 50,000 from you, 150,000 from the port. This will be happening probably this January timeframe. So That's all I have. Unless you have any questions for me.
150 from fine.
150 from fine, right. 50,000 from the port, 150,000 from fine.
There you go.
And I'm sorry, this was for what again?
Salt run dredging.
Okay, we just finished that. This is setting it up for the next time, because we're not supposed to break
This is-
projects up into smaller projects so that they look like they're smaller and other laws don't apply to them.
This is for 3 years. We break it down to 3 intervals of $200,000.
Right, well, see, that is the exact limit. Anything over 200,000, see, has to have a competitive bid, so when y'all...
Split it out, man.
Wait a minute, if you split a $600,000 project into 3 $200,000, you can't do that. The law says you can't do that, so please somebody look into it, but we don't have a lawyer here today. You're not allowed to split a project up like that if it affects how it's controlled by the law. Do you competitively bid that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how often does Southeastern do, how often have they done salt run? You have any
This is
clue?
their second contract. Before that, it was not Yellow Construction.
I couldn't get a lot of stuff I needed from the city. Will I be able to get those competitive bid
I
contracts?
sent a bunch of it yesterday to
I know,
you.
but I didn't get direct billing receipts. Direct billing receipt is the receipt.
You got the purchase
from-
order from Branch
Purchase order's
Diversified.
not that, and direct billing receipt's something different. We'll get around to that. Just for the record, of the last 10 grants this port has given to the city of St. Augustine, 4 of them have been canceled. There's not a grant application for any of them at all, so that the public could go into our records and see why we're spending money. And I'm in the process of collecting from Mr. Piggott what happened to the money for 4 of those grants.
Can I ask what
4 out of the
grant you're
last
talking
10,
about?
listen.
I'm aware of the kayak launch and the police boat.
I got that from a Mr. Tim, what's his last name?
Tim Fleming?
Yes, he sent me,
you a
I have the
copy?
email that says 4 of the last 10 projects have been canceled. Per his
That's not
email.
correct. I got the same email. He said apologize.
Oh, no,
for
sir,
the
I will bring that
landscape.
in. I'm not going to be told I'm a liar when I have it in front of me, right on, would you like me to get it on my phone? From Mr. Tim Fleming, 4 of the last 10 contracts, or I'm sorry, grants, have been canceled. Y'all did something else with the money. The problem is, in our records, we have no idea
Give
what
me
to
that
do.
contract. I would like to see it after the meeting.
I will send you back an email that Mr. Fleming sent to me.
Thank
And that's
you.
why I started looking for receipts, because if 4 of the 10 grants were canceled, and nobody hasn't, you're the only one that knows what happened to the money, Mr. Piggott. So I'm working on getting the records together. But for the record, 4 of our 10 grants were canceled and the money was spent on something else.
And I want to say on the record, there was 2 grants, which was a kayak launch and a police boat for $150,000 to rebuild the marina after Irma.
I remember that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I will get those documents, Miss Elise, to make sure we have them in our records.
I actually have a copy.
Okay, from the one from Tim Fleming.
Yeah, I know. I'm
And
gonna-
which he said to me, 4 of the 10 have been canceled. Thank you.
Law enforcement.
Josh Underwood, Sergeant of the Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. Some quick statistics from last port meeting to this port meeting was we've had 5 boating accidents the Sheriff's Office worked, 12 warnings were issued in the Port District, 2 citations were issued in the Port District, and 22 vessel safety inspections in the Port District. It also should be noted, as of today, the Coast Guard is in the inlet currently working on buoy reconfiguration. I did talk to them this morning. They will not, under no circumstances, increase the size of our buoys for this inlet until we become a commercial port with commercial shipping. So based on the size of our area, that's how they determine the buoys they use.
That's what they've always told us, so nothing has changed.
Correct.
That's the same line they've always given us for over 20
But
years.
they are replacing them, so they are back in today.
Did they say anything about us not going entire seasons with our inlet down? Because we go the entire winter season, every single year with our inlet disabled.
She did not say. I talked to the commanding officer at the Aids to Navigation team.
Right.
Which I can try to see if they'll come in and talk to you guys on a port meeting.
I think it's got to, like you said, but it's a political event that has to go way around and come down from the top.
Correct.
I mean, it's up to you if you want to spend the time, but I would think it was a waste of time.
And then also, I sent you guys the end of the research. Commissioner Brown asked about the zip ties. I sent Elise an email today. I don't know if you guys looked at it. Basically, all it had was the state statute that talks about the marine sanitation devices. And we, as law enforcement, cannot actually get on the boat and affix the tie. It has to be the owner of the boat / operator per the state statute.
Well, the thing that you sent us today here, I see where it says no officer shall board a vessel, blah, 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 but then later in that paragraph, and just for the public, he's talking about going onto boats, and you have a sewage system on a boat, and that sewage system can work two ways. You can pump the sewage out the top and it goes into the city system for treatment, or you can pump it out under your boat. You grind it up in a macerator, and all that sewage goes under the boat and into our public waterway. But what we were talking about here was trying to do is a way to board a boat, and you go to their sewage system, and you can put a little zip tie lock. Now, how you decide whether you're going to pump out legally or pump out in our water is just a handle. The zip tie would hold that handle, have the sheriff's department stamp on it, and if he came back next month and it's gone, you better have your name on that bridge, because the only other legal way to get rid of your sewage is just go out in the ocean. And what, at least 3 miles, right?
Correct.
So if you're not on that bridge and you've broken your zip tie, then he's got a reason to write the ticket. But here's what, I heard what you said, but then this is what I read. An officer may board a vessel when the operator refuses or is unable to display the safety or marine sanitation equipment required by law. If requested to do so by a law enforcement officer, or when the safety or marine sanitation equipment to be inspected is permanently installed and not visible for inspection. Almost everybody at our marinas, you're dealing with boats that have permanently installed, so it looks to me like you
Right,
can.
usually everything over 26 foot with a berthing area has a permanent installed.
Right, but that just means you can go on the boat in that case. It doesn't mean you can install
It says
that.
here, he may board the vessel if if they refuse to allow him on.
Correct, and that's what we do now. We use tablets. We push the tablets in their marine sanitation device, their MSD.
Right, but that's when they're complying.
overboard.
But if a boater refuses, they cannot refuse to allow you to, a law enforcement officer to inspect their sanitation system. And right here it says you may board if that system is permanently installed, which of course they all are mostly.
Correct, which, that's what we
Yeah,
do.
that's
We
what
use
we're
the
worried
tablet
about,
to
is it
test
permanently installed?
We just, according to legal, based on the state statute, we cannot actually take the strap and affix it. We can give it to the owner or the operator, and they can do it at their will. But we, as law enforcement officer, cannot permanently affix that strap on.
A zip tie is not
someone else.
permanently affixed.
But if we cannot take it, this is what legal's telling us.
Did they give you, because what they gave us here in writing is not that, it says you can board the boat.
Correct, we can board it.
You just can't put the zip tie on.
Correct. So we can give it to the operator, and they can choose to do so or not.
Could I suggest that we possibly work out something, maybe write a letter to the city of St. Augustine, because all the marinas up to San Sebastian and the other marinas, there's absolutely there's not even a code that says that they have to enforce it. Many of them do have a pump-out facility there, but people don't use it. Matter of fact, that big old boat at Comanche, it can't even get to the pump-out. So tell me what a huge vessel like that does with their sewage, and they're sitting there month after month, like they already did. People were living on it.
Right.
You can't physically even get to a pump out, so we know what they were doing. Got to be, I know in Marathon, Florida, they don't have problems with pump outs anymore because they get boarded.
Correct.
Does anybody else have an opinion on what we could possibly do to keep people from pumping into our river?
We're legally allowed to write our own regulations here. We've never done it before, but
Right.
we could. I think maybe we should talk to Jim about that next time he's here and see if that's not something that we could handle regulatorily, and then y'all would be responsible for enforcing it.
There's a huge push, not just from boaters who would love to have a pump out. Because there's a lot of people, if they didn't have to move the boat every week, and believe me, somebody telling you they're holding their sewage and they're not telling you the truth. They're just not. I lived on a boat almost 15 years. You don't do it. They will let it go in the water before they do that.
Correct.
And that's
There's a
what's
lot of
happened.
boats
Just
that
because a
we
boat's
board.
out of marina, you know, that Sebastian, there are divers that will not dive up there because it is so heavily polluted with sewage.
There's a lot of boats that we board randomly, and they have composting MSDs on board.
See, now, Mr. Brown, Annapolis got rid of the composting head because it was shown that on daily use, it literally doesn't work. And people were throwing it over into water because it doesn't work. It's
Right.
something great for a hunting shack or one of those ice things, something you go to every once in a while, but on a daily use, it doesn't work. I've seen people with the compost heads that have a macerator pump hooked up to them. So it looks great, but it's still going right into the water.
What are they pumping out?
Sewage,
Sewage.
all of their sewage, into the water.
They can't do
like a collection bin where they like have them pump it into it and take the whole?
Oh, well, we have a pump-out boat. Now, the city has a pump-out boat. It does now, it didn't always, but they only service the people in the mooring balls. So like, I live on Hospital Creek.
Outside too, but we charge them $5.
That's right, they do, that's right. They service the mooring balls, and if you're at anchor within the city, for only $5, which is still a good deal. And so they will come to you, maybe not as quickly if you're at anchor, but they will come.
For the ones that don't use that, do they get a ticket or do they get a fine?
Well, supposedly, the mooring balls took care of a lot of it. We still do get, and believe me, when you watch one boat let go about 40 gallons of sewage, and you know it. It's like an oil slick with fibers. You know exactly what it is. It's horrible. And the worst is they'll hold it a long time, then let it go. You can see the E. coli. This is one of the things that enabled the city to get the mooring balls. Well, so they could have some regulations, but we have, how many marinas on San Sebastian? I know Oasis only has one. If you don't have it, like the city marina does, where you can pump out in your slip where you're at, they're not going to pump out. They're going to pump out in the water. The oldest line in the book will be this. I do my shit, shower, and shave, and all my business first thing in the morning up at the marina, where there's 3 toilets. Now, you know a marina with all those people living at, it's not, it's going into water.
Well, they don't have like a person at the marinas appointed to like watch that and make sure the boats are
Well,
good?
that's the problem. The whole problem here is enforcement. We can put the tags on, if you can get on the boat and put the tags on. If there's somebody not there that's gonna enforce it, they're gonna continue to do it.
Well, why don't we do a regulation so the marinas will have to enforce it? They will have to record when somebody
I
comes up
understand, I mean,
there.
if you're in the city marina and stuff where they can monitor the stuff, but
Well,
like you said, up in the San Sebastian and all that stuff, all those
They should have,
sailboats.
there's hundreds of boats up there.
I know there is.
Rivers Bend, I mean, y'all know how many liveaboards there, they are not all going to that, first of all, they're not all using the toilet up on the land, and they're certainly not taking their boats to pump out.
No, I agree. It's just, and
But they're giving the guy that manages, he came right over here and tried to talk us into that his people were all pumping out, and we know they weren't. Can't believe he came in here and said that.
Don't you think the marinas would enforce it more if maybe the marinas got the fine instead of the people on the boat? And then the marinas had to pay for something if they didn't get it?
You need to stand up there and state your name whenever.
Do you have anything else for me? I'm gonna sit.
If you want to talk, come on up and state your name again.
My name's Marco Clovanis again. So what I was thinking is y'all were talking.
Hang on just a second, just have to set the timer, that's all.
They don't have, what I was looking at here was, some places in some states, they actually have people there that they fine the marinas. So instead of you fining the boaters single-handedly and trying to chase them, I'm sure if the marinas got held accountable for that, I think that maybe if somebody started hitting the marinas with the fines, just like anything else.
We can require that they have a pump out facility. I suppose we could make a regulation that they register.
Yeah.
But I will tell you from being a liveaboard for a long time and watching a lot of other people how they do liveaboarding, which is not usually good for the most part.
Right.
You have to, it's a hard life. You have to love it and you have to take care of it by using the right kinds of soaps and all kinds of stuff. They don't.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the sewage thing is a real problem because you get cut in that water, you're going to die from MRSA.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a horrible problem.
I used to be an occupational therapist, and I treated a patient that got one little cut on his toe and had to have his whole leg removed because of bacteria. But I'm sure if the marinas were held accountable in some kind of way, and they had to suffer the consequences instead of trying to chase a boat down, saying, hey, you didn't dump your boat properly. Just every time it happens, if the marinas got a fine, I'm sure they would crack down. I'm sure they'd put somebody out there that would actually watch what's going on. So, I mean, I don't know, as long as...
To tell you the truth, sir, most marinas are aware that it's going on.
And they just don't care.
Most marinas are completely aware that it is going on.
And they don't care. They just let it
There's
go
not
on.
much concern, and for that matter, for the most part, I haven't seen a tremendous concern of law enforcement.
So if it went up, like the fines went up, first time 100, next time 500.
No, they're
next time
500.
Yeah,
And they're 500 if Mr. Joss gets on your boat, board your boat one night out at anchor, and you don't even have it legal.
Yeah.
But regardless of how you're using it, it's 500. So
I
really,
just-
all they have to do, you can put coffee grounds in your tank and make it look like you're using your sewage
See,
tank.
that's just crazy. I think like Mr. Ray was saying, there's nobody getting or held accountable for the dumping, but I think if the marinas did, I think that might help. That's all I got, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim? Jim, can I ask you a question?
I absolutely agree with the last speaker. You need a regulatory program, and I'd suggest that maybe you appoint a subcommittee consisting of Mr. Brown and Ms. Flowers to write regulations. Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Your name? Did you need to state your name?
Jim, when the boat comes into the marina and stays overnight, do they automatically pump it out?
No, we do have free pump out service at every slip. We can also, if someone pulls to the fuel dock, we have long enough hose to pump people out for free if they come to the marina. We have the pump out boat that goes out to the boats in the mooring field if they want to pay $5, and we do record all those things.
Okay, but if you rent the mooring, the buoy for the night, that doesn't include a pump out?
It does if they want it.
Okay.
If they want it.
Could it be required? I mean, it's just a thought, but in the marina, if they stay overnight, they have the ability to have their boat pumped for the cost of the slip for the night. Is that?
They have that ability, yes. Can we require it? Possibly. Well, we probably could require it. I'm not sure how much.
Yeah.
How many boats are just coming from another marina, going south or going north?
Yeah. Well, usually if they stay the night, I don't know. I just was curious as to the procedure, that's all.
We do
Because we have
require,
boats that'll stay there for like 3 months at the marina. So if we do it every day.
Well, I know, but if you've got somebody there long term.
There's a reasonable amount of time that you gotta wait, and we have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
So,
even when you, Mr. Piggott, even when someone comes and checks into a mooring ball long-term, our mooring ball agreement says that their tank is going to be inspected, and we don't even do that. And I know it's a labor issue. I'm not complaining technically. I'm just saying it is part of the agreement that the city staff will check the legality of their head. And we don't have, I don't think they have the staff, we've never done that either. So I don't know how they could possibly do it every day.
well, I believe our staff does look to see if it's sealed properly, because the mooring fields, I'm
I don't think I've been told they've never
5% sure that
boarded.
most of our mooring field customers have their sealed. I don't know, Josh can probably talk about that. I don't know.
If you're on a mooring ball living there not pumping out, the city marina's going to know.
Yeah.
They're going to know if you're regular.
So. That's all.
Thank you. Let me just make a comment. There's so many different size, holding tanks. Being in the marina business for a lot of years, I can tell you that there's probably no way, unless you had an MSD police guy at the marina that could check to see whether or not you're pumped out or you need to be pumped out. And who knows? Somebody might have diarrhea and flood that tank. You never know. It's an impossibility to do that.
It's not impossible for Marathon, man. They got the cleanest water. They don't mess around down there. Matter of fact, I was told if you move in down there and you're not on the pump out list, you will sure be, they will use you as training.
Well, if maybe you could require everybody to pump out every day, no matter what. That's.
So there's probably room for improvement. Sandy, why don't I look at what Marathon's regulatory system is? And if you can think of any other jurisdictions that you know of that you think do it particularly well, I'll take a look. And maybe by next meeting, we'll come back and figure out if there's not some.
I think I would work from the enforcement side of it backwards, because anything that the board would come up with that doesn't have the teeth of enforcement would just be.
As Josh has said, simply being able to zip tie it himself rather than having to make it an optional thing would go a long way. So if we could even accomplish that, I think it would probably be worth our time. So I'll do some research and I'll come back with some options maybe.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Mr. Brown, is it legal for me to shoot you that information outside of the...
I think as long as you copy a lease and send to the board, it's fine.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, anybody else public comment? Okay. And government representatives were on that? Okay. Yep, come on up.
Critter Cox, sorry.
Yep, you're up. You're-
Right there. Both of you. You're shy. Lieutenant Steve Zukowski, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, Patrol Supervisor / Lieutenant for Coastal Flagler and St. Johns Counties. Also Officer Bill Miller, Fish and Wildlife Commission, and Officer John Young right here. Before I get started with review what's going on, Officer Young is new to the area, so go ahead and take your buff down so they can see your face. And say hello to everyone. All right, so you'll be seeing more of him around Flagler and St. John's here in the ICW area and offshore. He wants to learn how to do the salty, crusty stuff, so he'll be with us for a while, and you all probably know Officer Miller from when I introduced him a couple years ago and about all his hobbies and things like that. So they're here to help me in case I forget anything about what's transpired in the last month since the last time I was here, and I'll try to run it down. And if you have any further MSD questions I can answer for you, I don't mind doing that also. Boating safety, derelict vessels, we've, no, that was a Flagler one, so we're still pretty much status quo with what's going on in St. John's on that. Hold on a second. Sergeant Underwood, did you give an update on DVs at all, or no? Well, because there's really not much to update. So the last one was in Flagler that we just had removed recently. In terms of other boating safety items, since we were last here, we've had some minor boating accidents, really, I guess, akin to fender benders, if you want to equate them with vehicles, whereas we have the chronic problem with people pulling into the municipal marina without a proper crewman or asking for assistance, and they come in and they bang into one of the docks, and then they bang into a boat next to them and things like that. We've had a few of those, correct? And that's a chronic problem because people don't know how to negotiate the tide and the wind sometimes, and they're impatient and don't want to wait. We've also had a boat that down in Matanzas Inlet last weekend. Some people from Flagler were going out in an 18-foot boat. I think it was an old McKee craft. And because of the shoaling down there, and now we not only have confused seas, but we have some swells, their boat took on water and swamped. Fortunately for them, it overturned. Fortunately for them, they're probably only about 10 yards from the beach right there at the National Monument, so they were able to walk onto the beach or swim to the beach, and also their boat ended up on the beach. But that was a poor discretion going out under those conditions in that type of vessel, because there's no way they would have made it out the inlet safely without, well, they were in jeopardy as what happened to them. Then we had another boating accident this past weekend, actually a personal watercraft accident that happened on Sunday up in Palm Valley, where two young men in their 20s were on a brand new 10-foot plus, one of these new fishing PWCs that they make now, where they have a cooler in the back and they have rod holders, and they're just a longer boat, a personal watercraft. It was their first time out in that type of particular vessel, and they were wake jumping, and as often happens, some people get a little too exuberant when they're jumping wakes of other boats, plus they weren't familiar with the operational limitations of that particular vessel. Well, they got a little too airborne, and the passenger came down and smacked his arm, and I think he smacked his head also, and he had a little bit of had like a temporary seizure. So they took him up to Baptist in Jacks Beach, and he was evaluated and didn't have any injuries, and he was released. So no neurological issues. But we get that a lot with personal watercrafts, where people get a little too exuberant out there. They don't realize their own operational limitations or the limitations of the particular vessel, and next thing you know, they get ejected, they come down on handlebars, a whole myriad of injuries from minor to major injuries. So that is about it for boating safety. Anything else on boating safety?
Stickers.
So what would you like to
Stickers.
add? What about stickers?
The ones that would boating safety inspection stickers.
And do you have some news on that?
No, besides we issue those every year.
Did we issue any?
No.
Okay. Well, that's it for boating safety then. All right. Fisheries. I don't really have anything to report since last month. I know we've been doing offshore patrols. There are people out there still fishing. I don't have any news on the kingfish tournament we just had this past weekend. I was on Saturday. I wasn't out then, and two officers who were out then, they're not here right now. They're not working today, so I don't have an update on that. Nothing to really report other than people are still going out, people are still fishing. We haven't seen anything in particular in terms of something's running better than others. We are going to, National Marine Fisheries has decided to open up the red snapper season for, I think, a weekend or two in July. I don't remember the exact dates, but I just got that information last weekend. So do you guys remember the dates? No? Okay.
17th and then the next weekend.
17th next weekend? Thank you. So,
17th and then 10, 11, and 12, I think is what it is. It's 4 days.
all right, thank you. So we'll be out there enforcing that. One of the concerns we have with the federal regs is that there is no size limit on red snapper, and we do come across people who catch them in federal waters as small as 10 inches and keep them. So it's not a violation, but it's not necessarily the most ethical of angling practices either. So we'll see that. In state waters, if you happen to catch a red snapper, on Atlantic side must be at least 20 inches. And we rarely see that, although there are a few places where people can get them. So we might have some information to report on that by the next meeting. Anything else on fishing or nothing like that? Sorry? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The recreational and commercial shrimp season opened up again June 1st after being closed for the annual April and May closure. And most of the draggers have been up around off of Guana, the state park up there. But I think it was last week or weekend, officers Thomas and Lawrence conducted a couple of boardings, but again, they didn't find any violations on that. So that's all I have. Sorry, folks, it's a scant one this week, but that's all we'll stand by one. Did you discuss boat or skip day at all? No?
It was out of the district, so I didn't know.
Is that, well, okay. Boat or skip day on the St. Johns River last Friday the 5th. Yes, it is out of the district, but had to do with boating safety. This is where a bunch of boaters, mostly in Clay County, there's a sandbar south of the Shands Bridge, and they gathered. There's about 1,000 boats. We had about 3 BUI arrests. FWC worked it. Sheriff's Office had multiple boats. Fish and Wildlife from Jacksonville also came down, and there were also, I think, was there fire rescue there, or no? There was? Okay. So, just in general, in terms of St. Johns County, we had, I know these officers were involved in the BUI arrests, and then we also had some resisting with or without violence, some people just getting a little too rambunctious out there under the influence of adult beverages or other things. So, but that was quite the event. There were about 1,000 boats there, so that's something that we're going to have to watch for in the future, and we're going to have better coordination amongst the several participating agencies. And I think that's it. Anything else?
Well, you lost that officer in South Florida.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you. Back on Saturday night, we had Officer Julian Keene. He's assigned to Hendry County. I think Hendry County. Is it Hendry? Yeah. He was working off duty, and he witnessed a hit and run, and he gave pursuit. And next thing that happened is sheriff's deputies found him in his vehicle, shot, I think, up to 5 times. So right now, details are still sketchy. The Hendry County Sheriff's Office had 3 people, and FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, is getting involved too. They had 3 suspects. I think 2 of them have been released, and they have arrested who they believe to be the shooter, but not a lot of details yet. So, our condolences go out to him and his family. Julian Keene was a very well-liked officer. We have an officer in Flagler. Steve Chamberlain works on the other lieutenant's crew down there, FWC officer. He actually was his shift partner when he worked down in that Lake Okeechobee area. And he speaks highly of him too. I did not know him. I think he was only 30 years old. And he'd only been on,
5 years.
yeah, 5 years, thank you, John. So, we'll probably have his memorial coming up at some point in time on that, so I think that's it, correct? Okay, any questions on MSDs or anything I can help anybody with? No?
Will you let your officers write that ticket?
Oh, writing citations, we don't mind writing citations,
Okay.
but
So FWC does, y'all still ping a boat now and then and write the,
for violations,
Violations.
for MSD violations, yeah,
Right,
we do that, and we often do it in concert with Sergeant Underwood's people.
well, do you have any great ideas?
I will tell you this, folks, as a former Coast Guard boarding officer, man, when we go through boarding school, we get pounded over the head with MSD regulations. To satisfy, and you're all talking, I heard the zip tie talks, you're all talking about securing the Y valve, right?
Right.
It's as simple as you can lock the door to the head, and that satisfies the requirement.
Even just having the lock, that counts as I'll be darned.
Being secured,
Okay.
locking the door to the head.
Even if we were, okay, so it would take regulations within our district to require that thing, but if we had a regulation, then we'd be okay.
Right.
Can we regulate something outside of what the Coast Guard already has
Can you do?
for MSD stuff?
I seriously doubt it. Coast Guard's pretty much got MSD stuff locked up left and right. You'd have to show some, and again, I'm not the attorney here, but based upon my experience of all the years I've had on, you're going to have to show some compelling local need to try to supersede a federal regulation, because it's covered already. It's covered in there.
Well, that'd be interesting, though, to see if we could add that local, check with Marathon, I know.
Take a look. Also, if you're going to go down to the Keys, Key West, Stock Island area, Stock Island, which right side Stock Island, where all the houseboats are? Do you remember that area?
Wisteria Island or something?
Garrison Bight area in Key West. I used to work in the Keys for a year and a half. Officer Miller's worked down there. So Marathon, but Garrison Bight in the Key West area, there were a lot of liveaboards there. I know that. But yes, in terms of securing that MSD, locking the door to the head qualifies, believe it or not. So, anything else, folks? All right, thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your service.
Government. Anybody else from the government? Nothing? Okay. All right. Secretary Treasurer's report.
As of now, the city police law enforcement overtime, we committed $8,000, we've spent $1,973. We still have till September 30th before the budget year is over. The St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime, we budgeted $20,000, we've spent $86.33. We've spent nothing on the maps. I'm not quite sure what you guys are going to do about the maps. The derelict boats of the $25,000 budgeted, we've spent $19,446,000. God of lights, $10,000 budgeted. No, that was the navigational repairs, $10,000 budgeted. We spent $9,500. That was for the marker. So that was with the budget. So right now we're under our budget. We didn't budget anything for artificial reefs this past year. Normally we do. We didn't this past year. In the Florida State Board of Administration Fund A, we have $23,098. In our operating account, we have $123,716, and in our money market account, we got $2.2 million. Of the budgeted, the taxes that we budgeted that we would receive, we budgeted $570,634. I did just get a notice today of another $13,000, so we've received to date $559,294, and we're still expecting $11,000. And that would be it through the next fiscal year that starts, and we wouldn't get any more funding until November. Any more tax revenue, I'm sorry, till November.
Right. Approval of the minutes from May 12th, 2020. Any
I
questions?
sent or he sent everybody a
Yeah.
copy.
No changes, no additions to the minutes? Then I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes as they are.
I'll second that.
I thought we just approved minutes a little while ago.
All in
That was the
favor?
agenda.
That was for
That's the agenda, okay. All in favor?
That was for the
Aye.
January one?
No, that was the agenda.
That was the
Oh,
agenda.
excuse me, aye,
Okay.
excuse
okay.
me.
So Bear, you approved?
Yes.
You made the
I-
first?
I second.
You second?
Yeah.
I seconded.
Oh, okay.
Okay, engineering report, we don't have an engineer here today.
Yeah, I sent you those too.
Okay.
I have a couple comments about the engineering, just to say,
Sure,
these
go ahead.
things that I brought for you all today, these pass outs. The Summer Haven contract, the only one I was able to look at, of course, was the last one, which is $2.9 million contract. What I have for your pass outs today is many times throughout this year, I've complained about our contracts or some of the procedures that we're doing that are incorrect, and nobody will look into it, so I did in fact bring the law to you, and I'm just going to leave it with you today to look over, because the engineer's not here. But number one, if you look on this page 1, which is a copy of a page of our charter, what I've outlined here in orange tells you that these contracts all expire the next election. Everybody that is an appointee or employee serves this board, so no, there are no 3, 4, 5-year contracts. The maximum they could be is to the next election, so you got 2 years. So I don't know why you'd ever put a different date on a continuing contract. Now he's changed it to 2 years, the next election in November. That has to come up towards this commission and the public.
Sandy, I read this only to apply to specially designated offices that fall outside of Clause F. Clause F includes engineers, agents, and legal and
I
clerical
see the
aides.
engineers up there too, but then when I will read it to the public. Again, this is what needs to be looked at very closely, that's why I'm bringing it. Provided the terms of office of all appointees and employees shall be at the pleasure of the commission and shall automatically terminate within the termination of the term of the office of the members of the commission, which means the next election.
Right, but that's only appointees and
Mr. Brown,
employees.
if you'll
under
notice
Clause
with the
G.
city, these are contracts, and the public has a right to have a say about these contracts, and that's how we do it, is every election, we review the city manager, we're supposed to be reviewing all of these contracts, they're not supposed to be continuous forever, so we need to have this very carefully looked at by a lawyer, and I'll leave that with you, Mr. Brown. Now, also, I've included there, the next page are instructions from the Attorney General on how we're supposed to spend our grant money. Now, this page tells you that we have to follow a certain law. That law is 287. I've highlighted lots of things that it appears that we did wrong. For example, our engineer had a $376,000 contract that did not get competitively bid. And when he just took it, literally just took it, or we gave it to him, I guess, he spent that money however he wanted without even having a contract with the board at the time because it was terminated. Even the signed contracts, as you know, with Taylor Engineering often were expired and invalid, and yet they're still spending our money, even during that time. So if y'all would please totally review the charter, the Attorney General's comments on how the laws that apply to us, and then the law itself. I've outlined for you what we're supposed to do, and we didn't do that. So if you please look those over, we've got a lot to work on.
Okay, we're down to new business now. Funding request for artificial reefs. Teddy.
Teddy.
Thank you. I'm standing in for Teddy. He may need to leave shortly. I'm Doug Patel, Director of Parks and Recreation with St. Johns County. Before you should have a letter from our Board of County Commission requesting funding in the sum of $125,000 to assist in the reef project for deployment of the concrete materials at the artificial reef. There is some urgency behind this request. A quick bit of history. In 2011, the county acquired a lot of bridge material from one of the DOT projects here in town. It's been stored out by the airport since then, and the county's had small bits of money over the years to deploy small amounts of that. I believe you all participated in the funding on that over the years as well. Recently found out that DOT would like all this property moved off the site. So today the board did approve $325,000 as a match to move this forward, to move just about all the material. It probably won't quite get all of it, but it should get the majority of it out in the water. And then, you know, again, for a DOT's request to have this material moved off their site, it would take care of that once and for all then, and then we could look at future projects on that.
Okay. I know we just, that's a lot of money. I know we just approved a bunch of money for Parks and Recreation, $90-some thousand or so. Yeah. Just a minute. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Well, maybe you can shed some light on it. Carl, come on up.
I want to get rid of this. Carl Blow, I'm just here as a citizen today and a reef volunteer, just to fill in some stuff Doug told you. I've been involved in the reef project here in St. Johns County for probably about 16, maybe 17 years. And I was involved in the accumulation of this bridge material, concrete material for reefs. Basically, it was the bridges that were replaced in Summer Haven and then the bridge that was replaced there at US 1. The challenge in building reefs is what's happened over the last, say, decade is it used to be people had a problem getting rid of this concrete debris. And it was, and they would come to you and say, hey, we'll give this to you for a reef. What happened was there was a change in the, basically what happened is the aggregate that they use in concrete is mined in South Florida, and it's a hard limestone rock. Those mines were shut down, I think about 10 years ago, something like that. And it created what it did from an economic standpoint was it created this concept of recycling concrete. Prior to that, it didn't pay, but once they shut those mines down, due to the loss of those mines, then we were having aggregate imported from the Bahamas, and then also people realized, well, we can set up these crushers and recycle this aggregate. And so what we started running into is instead of people wanting to give us this concrete material, which is the perfect material for an artificial reef, it was being crushed. So anyway, we were fortunate over the years to hold on to this approximately 12,000 tons of material on property owned by the airport, west of the airport. What's happened recently is, or before I get into that, is the plan has been over the years to accumulate funding from the port. You guys contributed for a number of reefs.
Do the clock yet, guys?
Excuse me?
So you said you're here as the public and they didn't set the clock.
Well, anyway, I was here to help the county actually, but anyway, I'll speed it up. Bottom line is, what's happened is the airport has, in a property exchange, exchanged the property that this material is stored on to the DOT. I think it has to do with the 313 road that's bypass road. And so now DOT is, they want the material moved. And so basically that has created a situation where instead of having unlimited time to place this material for reefs, we have now very limited time. So the point I want to make to you is the county obviously is asking for some participation from the port. I can tell you that my guess is that this will be the last time for quite a while anybody comes to you for artificial reef money, because once this material's gone, I don't know where we're going to get material for reefs. because the recycling concept is basically, it pays to crush it and recycle it. So nobody's going to be giving you concrete. So I know this port has contributed in the past, fortunately for Reefs, and it's been very helpful. If it helps at all in your decision, I think this is going to be the last time we have an opportunity to put this material out. So if you can help the county out, it would be very appreciated. And keep in mind, and we've talked about this in the past when we've come before you, artificial reefs are actually a great investment. They create jobs. They're basically permanent. Actually, I don't know if Doug brought any of this information, but I know I've used this graphic in the past. Did y'all do any handouts? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's in the, well, this is my favorite handout. If you see this guy here, this comes, we use this, it's actually from the Times Union from 2012. But it's a graphic showing Northeast Florida, and it's Baker, Clay, Nassau, Duval, and St. Johns County. And the saltwater fishing impact from those 5 counties is $398 million, and this is 2012 numbers. We're talking about 3,816 jobs related to saltwater fishing. Well, my favorite, the reason I like this so much is, there's not a lot of saltwater fishing in Baker and Clay County. Most of this $398 million, which is now a lot more money now that we're in 2020, was spent in St. Johns County. So, and those 3,816 jobs, I suspect a lot of those were in St. Johns County. So anyway, it's a good investment. It creates jobs, and anyway, I appreciate your consideration, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I think it's good. I think the project's good, but I just don't know if we have the extra money, because that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, that's a quarter of our yearly budget. How limited in time, you say we're under the gun here. How under the gun are you? Sorry, can Doug answer this?
We're not up to yet.
I'd like to make a comment too.
You have to do public comment, but I don't.
You will. Just a minute.
DOT would like this removed as soon as possible. I don't know the exact time frame. I know there's been discussions going on with the county for more than a year about the removal from the property, so it's been an ongoing issue that needs to get removed. And again, that's why the board went ahead and approved the funding today. It was excess funds from TDC funds from one of the beach renourishment projects that was available. So obviously the board voted unanimously to support this. So they felt it was urgent and important enough. As Carl said, the local impact in terms of the economy and tourism certainly is a large effect here in terms of utilizing this material. And as Carl said too, we probably won't see any of this in the near future. The board also voted today to accept over 860 feet of the old bridge at Shands. So again, we talked about the local impact of fishing there as well, the fact that numbers nationally for fishing are very good, even in younger age groups. It's one of the top 5 activities that youth are doing coming up right now, so there's a very bright future for fishing. We even discussed with DOT in that project the possibility of reef material, but again, when you think about barging from the St. Johns River out to the ocean, it would probably be more of a Jacksonville project than a St. Johns County project. So, but that I think is the only bridge project on the horizon right now. So it will be a long time, I think, before we see other deployments like this.
And so the total cost of the project, y'all are estimating is $450,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And has that been bid out yet, or that's just what you estimate?
No, it's not been out yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a chance it could be significantly more expensive or less expensive?
It could be, and obviously we'll do as much as we can with the funding we have available.
And where would that material be placed? Do you have a spot for it yet?
Yeah, at the current reef project.
Okay.
Where does this material come from?
This was one of the old bridges here in town.
Okay, so it came from a private contractor who now expects us to get rid of his debris.
Well, it's a DOT project, so it's a DOT bridge.
Yeah, we wanted that concrete.
I didn't say that we didn't. But what I'd like to comment about is this. There is in town a fellow named Zach McKenna. He runs the eco tours downtown St. Augustine, the kayak tours. He's very knowledgeable about reefs, and he's spoken to the city and he's spoken to me about it. There's a couple of things. Right off the bat, that reef is 11 miles outside of our district, and we can't put our district money outside the district. And that charter says that. We cannot spend our money outside the district. Zach has told me I'd love him to come talk to us about it. He says, you're not building a reef because there are no reefs at this latitude. You're putting trash on the bottom of the ocean floor that's then being moved around by the current. And I'm not saying fish don't accumulate there, but it's not a real reef. It's not even an artificial reef because reefs don't live here. It's a trash pile. It's outside of our district. Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, I went out there to that reef that's supposed to be concrete with a big old trailer a couple years back. Dropped anchor, spent all day, and I pulled up one half of a 40-foot extension ladder. So it's all kinds of construction debris. A 40-foot extension ladder, aluminum. So it's outside of our district, so I don't know how, if the charter doesn't let us spend money outside of our district, that we could.
Where is the reef located? I don't see any coordinates on here. I was just curious.
Carl, do you have the specifics on that?
The reefs are permitted by the Army Corps of Engineers, and the state of Florida has probably one of the most aggressive artificial reef programs in the nation. The reef in question right now, St. Johns County only has one active permit, and it's the Andy King Reef. I think Commissioner Benjamin was on the board at the time that worked with the Ancient City Game Fish Association to build that reef. We've had several barge deployments or loads go out to Andy King, but right now the only active Corps permit is the Andy King Reef. As far as where the material came from, the two bridges in Summerhaven, basically I knew the project manager for the contractor, and I negotiated them to give us the material, and that included them trucking it from Summerhaven up to the property that belonged to the airport. And then the bridge, US 1 there at King Street, basically the Congress requires if there's federal money involved in a state road project, which most state road projects have significant federal money involved in them, federal law requires those state road departments to make material available if it can be used for reefs or other type of environmental projects. And so when the US 1 bridge came up, we reached out to FDOT, and basically they wrote that into the spec that bridge would be used for an artificial reef, and that was trucked out too.
But the permitted reef is not in our district, is that correct?
The reef, the Andy King, is about 8 nautical miles east-southeast of the sea buoy. And the beauty of that was because it's available to the smaller boats during the summer. A lot of our other reefs are much further offshore.
I know we had, I remember, I think we've done 3 reefs. 2 of them we partnered with the guys at Flagler and I remember a girl, Kennedy, there was a girl named Amy Kennedy.
Yeah.
And we did that, and that was right on the line, like, between Flagler and us, but it was the closest reef at the time. And I mean, within like a mile of the line. And then we did the Andy King, which I think is in our district. And then, but this guy here, I don't know where's this one at?
This is going to Andy King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Andy King site's the only current permitted site in St. Johns County. So yeah, this material, it's a 40-acre site, so there's plenty of room out there to take it.
The only thing is, it's just a lot of money for us. To put that much money into Parks and Recreation, that's a lot. Well, 25, and I'm with you. I think reefs are great.
I think it's the last time you're going to be doing any reefs.
I know what you mean with the money.
Can I just say something,
Sure, go
Gary?
ahead.
Last meeting, we had approved quite a bit of money to go out for next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we have, and our budget is coming up in July, next month. We have to come up with the actual amount for the rate, your millage rate.
Right.
Next month, at the next meeting. And I think we're pretty close to what we've spent on budgets last meeting, because we approved quite a bit of
Yeah.
funds. So I'm just giving you a heads up.
Okay.
Thank you. Ed Slavin, box 3084, staugustgreen.com. I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Flowers. I agree with Commissioner Brown. Y'all don't have the money. This is outside the territorial limits of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District. To spend this money would be a breach of fiduciary duty, and it is not within your jurisdiction. I don't know why this district allowed money to be spent in the past, hundreds of thousands of dollars on these so-called artificial reefs. I've talked to Mr. McKenna too. He's very knowledgeable, and I believe that this is ocean dumping. And this is basically a way of allowing FDOT to use this board to allow it to pollute. I'd like to see a programmatic environmental impact statement for the entire program. I'd like to see this motion tabled right now. It wouldn't be proper to vote on it right now. And I just looked at the county commission agenda packet, and I didn't see anything about this item on there. So unless they slicked it through, as they always do, with a red folder at the end and don't give the public an adequate opportunity to be heard, I don't think we have any evidence here, no paperwork here, from whatever it is the county commission did this morning. And why in the name of all that's holy, after what you've heard from Commissioner Flowers and about what Mr. McKenna had said, why would you want to just dump a bunch of concrete in the ocean if it's not going to be an actual artificial reef, if reefs aren't really native to this area? This is ocean dumping. I mean, this is a very serious concern. And the county, where's the county attorney? I'd like to hear from Patrick Francis McCormick himself that he has personally researched this and checked on federal environmental laws. I'd like to hear from our 5th District Commissioner, who's a lifelong environmental attorney, Isaac Henry Dean. He lives in St. Augustine Beach. We could call him and he'd come down here and present. If it was a unanimous vote and he thinks it's righteous, let's let him present at your next meeting. But don't do anything at this meeting. And by the way, as far as the county coming in here right now and saying, oh, it's urgent, that's what they all say. I've been hearing that since we moved here 20 years ago. Anytime somebody wants to do something that doesn't, in their mind, require public scrutiny, they say, oh, you have to do it right now. George Morris McClure, every developer, lawyer that ever lived, every con artist that ever lived, ever comes to one of these boards, they always say, you have to do it now. No, this board is supposed to be a deliberative body. And I expect you to do so, and the people expect you to do so. It's our money. And furthermore, my mother had a sign on her office for many years, and it said at the purchasing office at Camden County College in Blackwood, New Jersey, poor planning on your part does not necessarily mean it's an emergency on mine. They just tried to basically dump into your lap the responsibility of disposing of property for another board. The airport authority's not here speaking to you. There are attorneys here in town, Douglas Nelson Burnett, St. John's Law Group. He's not here. The county attorney's not here. You got an amateur who's like the second underfiddle. I'm not believing this. This is not ready for you to decide. Y'all need to punt and table it and tell the county the next time they want you to spend money, they need to come in here with an attorney, with a budget, with a plan, and with some legal basis, because this is offshore. It's not in our district. And it's already been admitted some of the dumping that was done, artificial reefs, was done offshore of another county. But apparently none of these artificial reefs are within your jurisdiction. So I would request a State Attorney General legal opinion. I would ask Mr. Brown to do some research, and I'd appreciate it very much if the attorney had been alerted by the county about this, the attorney for the board, to where he could have actually given you all a legal research memo. But I don't think he's done a legal research memo in 10 years, so maybe he doesn't know how. Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Sure, come on up. Yeah.
All right. Again, my name's Marco Clavanish.
I just have, I actually agree with what the gentleman before just said. You know, they have a project The reef, has there been studies done saying that concrete would be a reef? I mean, that just sounds ridiculous. I mean, just because I don't think, sea level and all that stuff and global warming, but you're dumping like there's chemicals inside that concrete. So I just don't see, if there hasn't been like any kind of studies that it has a benefit, dumping a bunch of concrete that has a bunch of lime and chemicals. I mean, you put that stuff, I built a fence at my house and that slime from that concrete killed every bit of grass on my side. I mean, it's just crazy. That just sounds crazy that we're putting concrete in our ocean, calling it a barrier or a reef. I mean, reefs are made naturally. You can't put a bunch of concrete and make it. So I actually agree with what the gentleman was saying beforehand. What is this reef doing?
Primarily for fishing is my understanding, correct?
Correct. But for fishing,
Big game fishing.
So is it making like the waves break further?
Fish like to hide up in all the, like a
Fish are
sunken
attracted
boat.
to it, that's all.
They like to hide up in there, and lobsters.
Well, they can't do something different, like make one of them long piers of rocks or something, and put something around it so the chemicals don't get in there. That just sounds a little bit weird.
To tell you the truth, I kind of felt like we were disposing of, commercial supplies, waste for people.
How much does
at the
this barrier-
taxpayer's expense, to tell you the truth.
How much did this barrier cost?
Lord, I don't know.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
We've been dumping it into there, of course, a long time.
See, this is my first time in a meeting, so I'm kind of feeling the way around, but that just didn't make sense. Maybe we should get somebody to study it, see the effects. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Amen, Rob. Thank you.
My name is Donna France. I'm a life member of Ancient City Gamefish Association. I've been doing reefs in this county for as long as everybody in this room, and him included. I've grown up with this program. It's not something we just created overnight. The Corps of Engineers approved this permit 12 years ago. The Corps of Engineers is the one that regulates what you can and can't put offshore. The Corps of Engineers would not let us put something out that is not safe for the environment. The concrete we're using for the reef is a bridge. It was a bridge.
On land.
Water passes.
I'm just saying, there's a bridge on land.
I mean, if the concrete is safe for a bridge where water passes under, it should be safe for a reef. Let me give you a little history. We have sunk cars. We have sunk planes. We have sunk tires. And we can't do any of those anymore because they were not and are not environmentally safe. That's all in the past. I've been doing this a long time. Our club is the first one to ask for that permit. Long before I know Mr. Blow. It's a 40-acre square. This isn't the first time we put material out on this 40-acre square. The first square is 10 acres. It's called Andy King. The second square, it was just named for Jimmy Blaylock, a lifelong fisherman in St. Johns County that passed away. We actually dedicated that square to him before he died. The third square, 10,000 acre square, is for Eternal Reefs. You probably don't even know what Eternal Reef is, but there are some out there. We have a 1 square, 10,000 acre piece of property. Now, what I'm concerned about is all that material that's out there stockpiled that we've had used before will not fit in that 10,000 acre square. There's enough material at the airport, now DOT's property, to do 4 more wrecks. I've been doing this a long time, folks, a long time. What is a wreck? What is a reef? We worked 15 years, our club did, to get enough money to put that first drop out there for Andy King. We saved money, we begged money, we hoarded money, and finally got it out there. It took us years.
But what does it do?
Let me tell you what it does. I'm going to get to that, because I know.
There we go.
We've researched it. I'm very passionate about this.
That's awesome.
Very. We put that material out. In 9 months, it drew 9 sailfish. A sailfish is a game fish that would not have come in for our anglers to catch if that reef had not been there. That reef attracts bait fish, which attracts bigger fish, and it gives our anglers somewhere to go within the proper distance or a little distance to go catch fish. Now, it is in this district.
How is that, ma'am? It's 11 miles offshore, and our district ends where the federal line is, on the beach. That's where our district ends.
Well, ma'am, let me tell you, how
It's
does the
not-
Corps of
it's not on
Engineers
this side of
give
the
us
beach, is it?
How does the Corps of Engineers give us approval?
Ma'am, they may have given you money from this district 10 years in a row. It doesn't make it legal. It is against our charter to spend money outside of our district, and that's 11 miles offshore.
Well, you've given us money before.
Doesn't make it legal. Matter of fact, when you do illegal things, it's all right to even ask for the money back. They never should have given it to you.
What other
It's a
questions
violation
do
of
y'all
the charter.
have? I can answer all of them.
Where does the concrete come from?
The concrete came from 2 bridges that got torn down. We stockpiled it, and we've been trying to get it out there piecemeal to make these reefs.
So anyone tested the concrete? Like, have they tested it to make sure all this stuff?
It's from bridges.
I get that.
What runs through underneath a bridge? Water. The same water that bridge is gonna be, that material is gonna be in
It
offshore.
runs under the bridge, it doesn't run over the bridge.
Wait a minute,
Ma'am,
pilings,
the bridge is not
pilings
in the
that they use
water.
in marinas are concrete, and the best pilings you can get are concrete, so that's
A
fine for
certain
the
type of
water.
concrete, Barry, I'm certain.
So what other questions do y'all have? I can talk all day about this.
Could we ask to hear from an actual
Our
scientist?
district, that's just the law.
I don't know how much more natural scientists you need to get from the Corps of Engineers. They're pretty well established.
They're turkeys. They're
The Corps of Engineers does not control our budget in any way. They can
I'm just saying,
Hang on,
I'm gonna agree with the Director of Parks and Recreation that if we don't take advantage of this now, we're gonna lose it.
Well, you can do that, you
And
just
let me
can't
tell
do
you
it
what,
with
the
court money.
benefit of what we get far outweighs.
Can't do it with court money.
Actually, I think we should table this today. I don't want to make a decision on it. I don't know if anybody else does at this time either.
I would be glad to sit down and talk to anybody and answer any questions. I probably have the most knowledge of everybody.
If you can make it inside this district, then we can do something for you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know what the total cost of this will be. Not our portion of it, but what is the total cost?
It's looking like $450,000.
Wow.
Well, it said $125,000
And $325,000.
matching funds.
And $325,000. That's the amount of
That's a
125.
25-75 match, it looks like, Tom.
Hey, Don, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
You said that the material that's there by the airport is more than what would be used in this particular project, is that
So we're
correct?
gonna lose it.
So what happens when the DOT is telling us it's got to be moved with the 3/4 of the material that's still there?
You're gonna take it, we're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
What a crime. That's criminal.
Well, you wouldn't have anywhere to put it anyway.
Well, not unless we find another place to stockpile it.
And it's not a crime.
It is
That's
a
your
crime.
opinion. It is not a crime, it's your opinion, ma'am. Don't come telling the board it's a crime.
Carl, did you have something that,
I could answer your question.
okay. So, sorry, ma'am, just,
It's okay.
Just real quick, the
State your name, please.
I gotta get on the mic, Carl.
Microphone, Carl, please. And ma'am, we'll get with you in just a minute. Okay.
I was alerted to a situation where there was a crusher that had been mobilized to the site. And when I contacted the airport,
A little louder, I can't understand.
yeah, I was alerted that a crusher had been mobilized to the site. And when I inquired with the airport as to what was going on, and not everybody in the airport staff was aware of this, but the airport had done this property exchange. And this particular crusher knew that material was there. In fact, he had contacted me a number of years ago about possibly doing some sort of joint venture where they would crush part of it and then pay us, the county, cash to get the rest of it off. And apparently the DOT just gave it to them. And anyway, so when I found out they were getting ready, they were literally set up to crush it, I alerted the county to it. We had to go back in our records, email traffic and so forth, and prove to that they had officially given the material to the county, but DOT is still in a big hurry to have it moved, and so that they've sort of put a gun to the head of the county and said, well, you know, it's on our land now, you need to move it, or we're just going to let this guy crush it and sell it. So that's why there's this sense of urgency, because for one thing, I don't know where we would ever get this material again because it has value now, and it's perfect for reefs. And if I can only say one more thing real quickly, if you look back in your past budgets over the last several years, you have budgeted about $25,000 a year for artificial reefs. Now, we haven't, you know, the county hasn't come to you and used that money for a number of reasons. I think the last time we put reefs out, was it what, 2016?
Yeah, 16.
2016. So if you look, you know, for what it's worth, I think they were looking for 125. Well, you know, if they had come to you the last couple of years, you would have spent 125. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is going to be the last comment on the reefs. We're going to move on. Sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Stephanie Burke. I'm part of the Ancient City Game Fish Association. I'm also a lifetime member. For the people that do not understand or know about reefs, reefs have to be sunk with at least 50 feet of water between the top of the reef and the water top. You have to have that much room between them. So doing it inshore would not be feasible or able to be done. Now also, if you wonder what reefs do for the county or what reefs do for the fisheries, go to TISIRI.org, pull up reefs. There is one for St. Augustine, the Andy King Reef, which is strictly concrete, is on there. It was filmed 2 weeks after it was sunk, and it already had fish on it. And they have other reefs off of St. Augustine on there. So I think everybody needs to look and see what benefits the reefs do have for this county.
Ma'am, I'm very familiar with how much money fishing brings into this county, but the law does not allow us to spend our money outside of the district, even if other commissioners have done so.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I am very much in favor of using this material for the reef, considering that it will probably be the last time, as Commissioner Blow said, for us to do it. We've done it in the past, and I don't, Sandy's right that it's not actually, the dumping of the material is not in the district, but it benefits the district a lot, if you just look at the statistics. And what I want to ask is, is there a deadline that we have to meet before? In other words, if we table it, will it endanger the...
I can't answer that definitively. I don't believe a month delay will endanger it. One thing I forgot to mention too is that our permit on this reef expires in April. So there is some urgency to get this bid out and get it placed. We could probably even proceed with bidding though with our current funding and increase it. You know, I think in the future that I wouldn't think that would be a problem. So that's one issue. And two, I do come to this new. I've only been in this position about a year, so reef projects are new to me. I've done a lot of construction, so I'm still learning about this. One thing that happened too is we bid this out once, but the budget was only $50,000 with internal funds this year. We had no bidders because the project was so small. So Carl's also supplied us with a good list of bidders that we'll be working on once this moves forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. You know, I just think I need the full board here with the engineer and the attorney, and I'd like to know how far exactly, is it really in the district or out of the district, how far, what, you know, like that. I just need a little bit more information, and so I personally don't really want to make a decision on it today. I think we should table it until the next meeting.
Okay, Barry, just so you know, in our charter here, the supervisor of elections have given us a map of the district, and there has a line around it. And just so you know, just go to your charter, and you'll see it is far, far outside of the lines of our district.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we table it till the July meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So, discussion, Sandy?
For the May Street thing?
Port seal.
Discussion or official port seal.
Oh, yes.
That was
Yeah.
used by.
Yes, Beacon Marine. Two things. I did get the, just so the public knows what we're talking about, this is in reference to a channel marker in Salt Run, channel marker number.
Commissioner, excuse me, could you just remove that while you talk? It really muffles your voice.
Okay, this is referring to a channel marker number 3 in Salt Run, and I believe this is the third time we've replaced it since I was a commissioner from last November. Yeah, is that true?
We're looking at port.
Year and a half.
We're talking about port seal. In Lincoln.
Yeah, we are, but it's about this. So Beacon Marine, which is a local company, has been replacing marker number 3. And just so you know, I did get the, Mr. Way, you remember we had that long conversation about we don't jet in our channel markers, and you know why? Well, guess what? We paid $9,500 to jet in a channel marker. They didn't even have to replace the pile. We were ripped off, and then right after that, this same company went to their website, put the seal of the port on their website, and claimed that they were a preferred vendor.
Yeah,
They went from, what,
I talked to
5,000?
the engineers about that, and I
Yeah,
checked, yeah.
I called him and told him to take it off.
Yeah, and you know, where did he get it? Because it wasn't off our website. Somebody gave him that.
No, you
Somebody
can just
gave him that seal, because it was...
Bag it off.
It's not the same seal as on the website. If you look carefully, I checked.
I have no
I'm not
idea.
saying you did, sir. I'm saying somebody...
didn't.
I'm not saying, I just said, I'm not saying you did. I'm saying someone gave him a full and complete seal. It was not off of our website. I checked.
Take it off a business card, you know, you can get it anywhere.
No, we couldn't. Again, I was sent these seals by the secretary when I was trying to get some letterhead together, and he used a seal that was not on our website. So that being said, it would be nice if we sent him a legal letter telling him that he has broken the law by taking our seal and using it incorrectly and not to do it again. Something other than just calling her up and saying quit. What's to keep him from doing it again?
That seal, by the way, I have on the letterhead. It's on the letterhead now, because I have new stationery with that seal.
I told him, would you please
Should
take
we
it
not
off?
send him an official letter from our lawyer telling him he has broken the law, he had no business doing so, and do not do it again in case he decides to? None of us knew it was there if I hadn't looked him up to see why he was charging $9,500 to hose jet. Aren't you blown away by that, Mr. Way?
Yeah, I am.
Just so y'all know, members of the public,
it.
at my dock, I can get the same thing done for $700. And oh, that includes a new pole. And we paid $9,500, and Mr. Benjamin approved that thing while we were all out on COVID. Didn't email anybody, didn't tell anybody.
It was emergency.
It was not an emergency. You do not have authorization, even in an emergency, to spend that much money, and you still had to notify us. We knew nothing about it until we showed up, and our engineer happened to mention that he spent $9,500.
I believe everybody got an email on that, on what it was.
I did not.
Yeah.
There was no email.
And it was, I think it was.
Did you get an email just when that pole went down?
I don't recall.
Yep, didn't get
Holiday
it.
weekend.
Didn't get an email, yep, didn't get an email when the pole went down, because I would have known, because that marker number 3 down again would have made my antenna go like this.
I don't know.
So he's not pile driving it, and that's why we're paying him $7,500 to $9,500 over and over again. He's putting his kids through college by going up there and pushing the pole up.
You know, unfortunately, it appears that he's almost one of the only guys that would do it for us.
This is why we need our own pile driver, and then they can rent it from us to do the work for us. There we go.
There you go. All right.
Well, anyway, I asked him to take it down. He said
Take it down.
he'd tell his IT guy, and
Yeah.
Did we, anybody
if you
check?
want to write him a letter,
Yeah.
that's up to y'all. I don't
I'm
care.
making notes.
I would think any government agency would write somebody a letter that took their seal like that and used it inappropriately. Should I make a motion to do it? Or make a motion that we write a letter to ask him never do that again?
I would only vote, if he refuses to comply with Chris's request, I would be in favor of writing him a letter, but otherwise, if it's down already, I would leave
Okay.
it.
Yeah, just leave it alone.
In the language of the Supreme Court in Roe versus Wade, it's capable of repetition yet evading review, and because of that, I would urge y'all to send a letter. This business of just making a phone call, with all due respect, Mr. Wade, that's a good old boy way.
Yeah, I'll do it the Andy Griffith way.
Need to do a letter, please.
I agree. We need to
And it
send
needs
it
to
in
be
writing.
signed by the board chair or the next board chair or the attorney or somebody from the board with board authorization. And it's not the first time that some jackleg local attorney has put on his website a government seal. It happened here in St. Augustine Beach when Douglas Nelson Burnett, the son of the former commanding general of the Florida National Guard, who got a contract to represent the city of St. Augustine Beach, he put the city of St. Augustine Beach website seal on his website, and they put on their website his seal, trying to drum up business for him. He also had on his site the seals of and logos of a number of developers. So it seems to be a generic problem with local vendors here, where they think if you're a government agency and you do business with them, you're part of their karetsu. I don't think so. It's illegal, unethical, and immoral, and you need to send them a letter. And don't let anybody do this to you again. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to suggest that, I think that what Commissioner Flowers wants to do is good, but I think it ought to come to our attorney. So I would hope that she would just agree to put this on the agenda for the July meeting.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine.
July.
July. Okay,
So that's for writing the letter?
that's for writing the guy a letter.
It's just in the letter from our lawyer, yeah.
Okay. Sandy, you're up again on zip ties.
Zip ties, I think we're done, we've pretty much finished that
All
one.
right. Sandy, on old business.
On Main Street?
Yep.
I'll be fast because I'm about to lose Lieutenant Zerkowski. I know you're tired and it's long. We've talked about this several times before, but just for the public. How do I do this, Elise?
Coming, wait a minute.
This is a
Trying to write this
proposal
stuff.
I have for the Main Street boat landing, which is a little tiny bridge, Main Street Bridge, just for people who don't know, between Volano and the city. When you're coming that two-lane highway, you see a little bridge you go over. And if you look down towards the south, you'll see some pretty pictures, and I have a project we're working on.
Freaking.
I think it takes a while to warm up.
Oh,
Where's our hiking guy?
I guess this part.
yeah, and I
Oh,
think.
okay, it's coming in.
Yeah.
I think there's something else we need to do.
Did you put it on there?
Well, I mean, there's
You have to push it, you have to pull it down though. Yeah.
all the way down like
It's
that.
supposed to go down.
Saying there's no source found, have you got it plugged in right? Either the flash drive or whatever you're using?
No, all we're doing is the overhead.
Right, but you're getting an error message down there.
It's getting a message that there's no source found. Where's the information coming from? You know, do you have
You don't have
are
a
you using a
paper in there.
flash drive? Or,
She doesn't, there's no flash drive.
That's an opaque projector.
That's just an overhead projector.
Right.
okay.
So you just need to lay your source down, which is that picture you have.
Yeah, and that's all
And then
you're supposed to do.
pull your thing, your head down and see if it does something.
No?
No.
Okay, maybe you gotta push a button so that it switches from one portion of it to another.
Yeah, it looks like it's on the projector mode and
It
not
should be in
the,
the settings under the device.
Maybe I can do it without it.
What's on there.
Yeah, good-
Should have a list of devices.
This is the pictures of the,
Yeah, of the-
May Street, from
right.
May Street.
Right, so maybe I can just, I hate for the public not to see it.
I think it needs a different, you're on a different auxiliary. It looks like that's looking
I
for a
can just
flash
kind of
drive.
pass these out.
Yeah.
Maybe pass
If
them
you're right,
around.
Chris.
Yeah. If I
Okay,
had
just
known in
don't do my
advance,
best.
I
There's
would have
only
set
two
this
people
up.
here. This is what it looks like from the highway. Now, I know y'all pass it every day. Isn't that pretty? It's ugly. That's actually an old boat landing. This is what the bid looks if you wanted to go down into it. You'd have, ooh, I went down there this morning. It was scary. It's bad. People using it. And this is what's so sad. Another thing of the bid, look at that. That's actually a driveway people are trying to use to get down.
Trying to change the auxiliary.
Maybe a kayak.
Let me see the remote.
This is really nice stuff, I want y'all to see this. Now, the ruts are getting so bad, they're using the rut to launch the kayak with.
Should be like
Okay, on a boat ramp.
Let me see that.
One of the biggest reasons I think, not just that we need kayak launches, non-motorized
I
launches.
just called the city to help with the overhead. They're going to send Anthony down.
Oh, is it ready?
They're going to send Anthony Johns down, the IT guy from the city of St. Augustine.
Anthony,
I mean, I could probably get it.
He's coming.
no, I have to have somebody from here. I can't have anybody else touch it.
This is another, this is right where you put your kayak in the water. Because it's low tide, so. So what we have is an old abandoned little boat ramp. It's very close to the big, huge, you've seen a boat ramp at the Farnham Bridge. The one good thing about this, I wanted to show everybody, is it has mangroves down both sides of it, which is actually protecting the road. So we do have mangroves where it's not running. So those are pictures, and I'll leave these for you. You'll keep these with the handout, and we'll just go over the talking points. Okay. So it's ugly. It's the biggest thing. It's an entrance to our city. And if you can see it, it must be beautiful. Or that's my motto. But, so that's one of the biggest reasons to do it, but we have a lot of people who need to get in the river and can't use the using a boat ramp. It's insanely busy. It's over busy. And you're talking about kids, people who are just learning, trying to get into the water right there at the current with all the big motorboats going in. So it's a lot of good reasons to go ahead and try to turn that into a non-motorized launch. Here's what we'd have to do. It's really simple. FDOT owns that huge easement. We own a slice of it. All they require is this. They'll rent it to us for $1 a year. They need a letter on official letterhead identifying us as a port, as a government agency, a legal description of the property we want to lease, and fill out all permits. Those are just secretary work. It doesn't need an engineer or anything. City of Augustine, St. Augustine, they just want us to submit a design plan. They go over them bi-monthly, and then they'll get back to us to approve or not approve. And that's when we'd ask them if they would put a trash can over there, because they would have to be the ones servicing it. Cost of constructions, I thought this was really good. In comparison to what we can actually do this kayak launch, for just about the same price, they wanted to do the survey over at the Doug Crane Boat Landing, and that was $40,000 right there. Now, we didn't have to spend that money because they changed the project, but Hudson Tractor Service would do all of the building it up with the rock, shell, rolling it out, everything, all the way down to the water, $25,000 to $35,000. I know that's a big thing, but that's a big area, and he just doesn't know. He can't put his finger on exactly what it's going to take by the time it's rolled out. But if you look at the John Thomas concrete, that is a 60 by 90 by 6 slab he'll put there for that driveway. $11,000. That's the best price I have ever seen on concrete. And the last was the wood for the parking places. The wood is not $2,000 total. It's just that it's going to have to be delivered and spiked down so it doesn't float away. So totally, absolutely under $48,000 to do the whole entire thing. That's it.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
All right. My name's Marco Clavanish. I might, I don't want to upset anybody, but you know what, how you were saying the entrances to the roadways, you know, all cities, if you want an opinion from a, you know, public, I've been, you know, I've done a lot, but all our basic needs are at the roadway levels. I mean, even that looked horrible. I mean, it really did, and not only that, but our streets are horrible, and they have been for 10, 12 years. I'm not even joking. How can we change America or do anything better if we can't even fix a pothole? I mean, that's just my observation. So as far as the reef's concerned, what, 220,000? Why couldn't some of that be allotted towards that boat ramp? I mean, that's just atrocious. People come here. I see commercials on St. Augustine. It's beautiful. When you see it back from like a distance and they're like showing all this stuff, I'm like, wow, I live here. But I mean, some of this stuff with the roadways is pretty embarrassing. I mean, just in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I mean, I agree 100%. That kind of stuff has to be taken care of. I mean, that's just for us. That's our name. That's who we are as a community. So.
It's an entrance to the city too, for sure.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd like to say was that there's possibly enough room there that, you know those people who have the long trailers with the kayaks, like they take a whole bunch and meet a group? I'll have to see about engineering, but there might be enough room that you can have the 12 regular parking, but all around that, kind of try to be able to have a spot where they could pull up and then just go right on back out because it's a long trailer. There'd be a lot of discussion about this, like, is it going to be truly non-motorized? What hours would it be open? Dawn to dusk. You've got people living right there at it that may want to have, those people living at it, I know they want non-motorized, but they may want something like dawn to dusk as well. Cop Jerry may have something to say about that too, because that particular location is where he's chased a lot of people up that have been stealing. They even steal your motor and actually put it in the water in that creek, drop it in the water, come back and get it later. So that spot's been historically a place to get up to no good, that's for sure. That's all I got on it.
Any comments or discussion with regard to this? I know we've thought
Well,
about
I think
it a little while.
it's certainly a good spot for it. I'm not sure, I think one of the issues that may arise with this facility is those people that do run a commercial business, like Sandy was mentioning with the trailers and the 10 or 12. My gut feeling is that they may set up shop, and it may be something that we need to address, and if we're going to do a project like this, we need to take that into consideration and write whatever regulations that either to allow them and nobody cares.
It will take some regulation for sure.
Yeah, that was my only comment on that.
I think we need, again, that's another thing we just need to table and wait till our, engineers here and our attorney.
Couldn't you just have people bid on the work, like have a bid on the job, and maybe you get it done for less than $4?
You can do that, but it's not going to be that much less, but yes, I agree with you. Yeah. But we just need to find out the legalities of it and the engineering of it.
Well, we've been through all that, Barry. That's what I'm saying. We've already been through the FDOT. I've already had the engineer's already written a picture of it, and it doesn't require engineering according to the FDOT.
Well,
it's all done.
I
But
can't hear
anything
you.
you need, like on legal description, they do for us.
I can't understand you.
Anyways, we've already done all that. It's really just up to a vote whether to go further. I would like to have the engineering, if you guys decide to move forward with it, do some kind of mock-up on what it would look like when it was done, because that's too expensive for me to finance. If our engineer could take a picture and kind of make it look like it's done, so that when we present it to the city, I think it would be a lot better chance, if we decide to go that way.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've been against this from the beginning, and I'm still against it. I don't think, it would be wonderful if you could do it for this price, but I don't think you can. You'd have to put up, I've seen water in there like 10 feet above the ground. And you'd have to elevate that very, very high, and you'd have to put a retaining wall.
Oh, no,
to
no
stop
wall.
Oh, listen, I live out there.
I know you do, and so do I. So do I, Tom, and I've talked to a lot of people. Have you done the research that I've done on this? You have not? And you can be against it, it's your right to be against it, but to say misnomers, it's not true. We do not need a wall.
I'm still against it. I think it's a waste of money, and I think it'll be water down the drain. Money down the drain, and water.
all right. Steve?
Lieutenant Steve Zukowski, Fish and Wildlife Commission. Commissioner Flowers, one of the problem is going to be you're going to have to put the infrastructure in there for all the vessels and vehicles to turn around and park and move and all that stuff. But one question I had is, you mentioned there's mangroves there, correct? All right. DEP is going to want a mitigation plan if you're going to remove some of those mangroves.
We're not removing any mangroves. We're not removing anything, sir. We don't need to add walls.
Okay.
We need to simply fill this with, and there's open permits even out there from the Corps if we want to go a little further, but we don't have to go that far. And I would never bring something in here and say we couldn't do it for that price. These are real live prices. I went out there and stood in the rain with these men. And I said, don't mess with me, you got to know, because I can't go in and be embarrassed, take taxpayers' money. We're not going to take out any mangroves. Okay. We are simply improving something that already exists.
Well, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad regulatory news, because believe me, that's not why I got into this profession. And but DEP might come a knocking or looking at some point.
Okay,
so
we have been with FDOT. I've spent an hour and a half or 2 hours with them, and they couldn't find anything else.
Okay. I just wanted to point that out, because when I used to be in DEP before they removed
Well,
this.
I want to give them a call now that you say it and see
Yeah,
if there's something else I need to do just to make sure.
In the abundance of caution, I do that just to make sure it doesn't add anything.
Okay.
Or they don't have to come out and make their own inspection before they give it their blessing, but just in the abundance of regulatory caution.
Why don't I do that and report back at July meeting?
And I think they still have a building up in Bay Meadows in Jacksonville, local DEP people.
DEP, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to point out that it's used now. People know when the tide's going to be high, so they don't put their cars down there, or they park it up the hill. It's used now, almost every day, by as many as 10 people, 10 cars, and it's at no cost to us. We cannot control the tide. I believe that's the biggest problem with that area.
Well, the tide's going to keep coming and going like it always has.
Yeah, I don't know if do you guys feel confident to take a vote on it now?
I think we're going to wait until Sandy's had an opportunity to talk to DEP,
yeah,
so
if they-
we can table it till next month at least.
You want me, so this will be on July?
Yes,
Next agenda.
because they might have me
Update on kayak.
update on the May Street, that'd be great, thank you.
Yep.
And we may want to do the design plan and see how the city's going to weigh in.
Well, I've already talked to Mr. Tim Burcham, and he says, just bring it. Now, Mr. Turnback already drew me a picture, and like I said, of infrastructure, it's 12 logs. It's 12 logs. That is all other than
What?
Oh, parking.
The parking, well, they're not logs, but you know, they're the square things like the boatyard has, and you just jam them down into the...
Where's the place at again? I want to go take a ride out
Okay,
there.
if you're on San Marco in town, going north, you know where the merry-go-round is?
Yeah, May Street.
Okay, May Street, take a right on May Street, and you'll see, I think FDOT's still working there. There's only one little bridge, and you'll go over the little bridge from this direction, and you look right down, and you'll see all the mud puddles, and you're right. We have tax-paying citizens that are literally using ruts to put their kayaks and whatnot into that, and other things down there too.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's table to the next one. All right. Public comments. Anybody from the public? Would you like, do we need to put the timer on, or you'll?
Let's skip the timer. We haven't timed anybody all day.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Honored. Ed Slavin, box 3084, cleanupcityofstaugustine.blogspot.com. Mr. Chairman, you really need to resign. Your June
Okay.
6th
Put the
email.
timer on.
That's retaliation.
I'm serious, put the timer on. It's the same thing, every meeting you say the same thing.
I have a right to say the same thing.
Yeah, I know you do.
For one
Okay.
person?
Yeah,
And you're discriminating. That's
Right.
discrimination, and I think we know one of the reasons, and the Supreme Court addressed that yesterday. Now, problem, Mr. Chairman, is everything you've done for the last 4 years at least is ultra-virus. You're not a resident of the district, and on June the 6th, you sent an unsigned email to the supervisor of elections, and you told Vicki Oakes that you were temporarily
I think you just went over this. Let's go. We've already heard this. We don't
No,
know it
you
yet.
don't get like a
Yeah,
Philistine
we do.
veto.
We do. I'll tell you what. We've
you
heard
don't.
it.
No,
We've
you
heard
don't.
it before. Okay, if it's the
That
same
does
thing, we
not-
don't want to hear it.
Actually, sir, I'm going to quote from the Supreme Court.
I don't care who you're going to
Justice
quote.
Lewis.
Let me just tell you this. I don't know Justice Lewis,
If this is
but I'm going to tell you what.
public comment, he
That's
don't
enough.
get
to censor my public comments, sir.
Not
You're
the
breaking
same
the law.
thing twice.
You don't get to violate the law.
out.
No, I'm not out. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not moving.
Okay.
Call the cops.
I don't need to call the
Would
cops.
somebody please call the
Can I
cops?
make a comment?
Is there anyone
Violating my
else that
civil
has
and
public
constitutional
comment?
rights. You, sir, are serving illegally. You do not live at 65 Lewis Boulevard.
Okay.
You are not legally serving as chairman of this board. Everything you've done for the last 4 years is illegal, and you haven't apologized for it. And we now know from your letter to Vicki Oakes that you do not live in the district. You've admitted that.
Yes, sir.
On May the
Live here.
27th, you falsely swore an oath to the supervisor of elections, and it's a crime. You stated that you lived at 65 Lewis Boulevard. The people who own that place say you don't. You don't live there.
I just spoke to the owner, Barry. I just spoke to the owner.
Would you like to see
Yeah,
my
would you like to know their name? All
right, you guys, come on. I'll tell you, that's enough.
Roy and Denise.
Sandy, let me just tell you something.
I'm
Sandy,
making my comment.
let me just tell you
You
something.
do not live
You
there.
know what?
According to the owner, you never have.
You're out of order.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
She has civil and constitutional right to
Protect
speak.
this board and protect it from you, because you're an interloper. You have no business.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, everybody,
Meeting's
just calm
adjourned.
down,
That's it.
please.
Augustine, please come to Mr. Chairman, you're breaking the law.
Meeting's adjourned. The meeting's adjourned. Okay?
He didn't allow
That's it.
comment. Wait a minute.
Yep.
You can't adjourn the meeting.
My commissioner comment is he doesn't live here according to the people who own the marina where he claims to live on his boat.
Right. Okay.
According to both of the people who own it. Not only that, this was less than 10 days ago, and they said he has never resided on the boat. And Mr. Wayne, what do you think about that? Why don't you call up the people of Rivers Bend? Do you not care that this man doesn't live here and he spends our money?
That's been, it's been
One
repeated.
call. I mean, one call, and they'll tell you right there, he's never lived here.
You've been saying that, and I really don't.
Yeah, you've been telling them a lie, and we've got the owner saying I'm not a liar.
Supervisor of election.
You have no business spending this money, Barry.
Spoke with the attorneys in this for the state.
The attorney defended you knowing he didn't live on the boat, and he's guilty of malpractice.
And said that I was perfectly within my jurisdiction.
I would like law enforcement to arrest this man. Actually, he has been disqualified from running in the next election.
My name is
So
Mark.
they already know he does not live here.
But where's the proof? I mean, he's been here 4 years. Shouldn't that have been?
The proof is, sir, that the people, he claims to live on a boat at a marina.
Marco?
This is getting so...
Marco Edward Clavinish. I was just gonna ask a question. Whenever, back to the boat ramp thing, I really like that boat ramp thing. So, what's the steps? How are we gonna get that problem fixed? Like, I don't know how we're gonna do
The problem of him being here?
No, I mean the boat ramp. Like, I'm interested in this boat ramp.
Well, we're gonna vote on it at the next meeting. We should be voting.
And you can't take, like, money from the concrete, like, reef and put it into that thing?
We can't spend money outside of our district. Every cent that we have given them outside of our district, we should be asking for.
Well, where's the accountability?
There is no accountability, sir. There's no oversight of this board. Nobody here has the public service bond they're supposed to have when they got elected except for me. Our lawyer told them not to worry about what the charter said. They're supposed to go get a public service bond within 60 days of election, when the charter says they will vacate their seat. They shall vacate their seat. They didn't do it, and they didn't vacate it, and they still won't do it.
Because the state's attorney said that we didn't.
The state's attorney did not. You give me that letter. Your attorney did. The state's attorney did not tell you it was okay. You get me that letter, Mr. Barry.
I appreciate you all doing.
Yeah, the state attorney never told you it was okay, because I asked for them.
Thank you.
And they've never
for your
told you that.
participation. We
You're
appreciate
an
it.
interloper.
Mr. Chairman, I just reported to the police.
Okay,
They're on their way.
okay.
Is the meeting adjourned, or what are we doing?
What do you think about it, Mr. Brown? If the people who own the marina, Denise, and Roy, they've been...
I'll tell you, we're the port district. We're not the elections board, nor are we the state attorney
You
general.
have to protect this port from anybody who doesn't live here.
No, we
Spending
don't.
money.
That's the Department of Elections and the state attorney general's office's job. That's not our job.
Thank you,
It's your
Matt.
job to oversight. If you know something that's illegal in this port, it's your job to let know.
It's not my job.
It's
We have a very specific set of
You took
duties.
an oath to protect this port, and
This
that
is-
includes
this-
from any kind of malfeasance.
This is why sometimes we can't get things accomplished, because we keep going on the same
Because
thing.
you are going to be removed, Barry.
Okay,
Or did you say we were done?
we're done, yes. Okay, yeah.
Was there a motion and a second?
I don't think we need a motion to
Don't
adjourn
need
the
a
meeting.
motion to adjourn.
No.
The next meeting,
Yeah, the next meeting is on,
1st of July.
okay, July 21st.
Budget,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, which one was it?
21st,
First.
and I gotta get right under this. I am under this.
Okay. I won't be here.
What? It's budget.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone from the 11th.
Are we still in session?
No,
we've adjourned.
We adjourned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Barry, I need you to sign the
Hey,
check.
can I, sign in by